Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much, madam, for this urgent meeting. So you have been requesting for a long week. So
Yes, sir.
today we could make it. So anyway, it's going to be a
Yes,
very
sir.
short meeting, mainly to
Yeah.
introduce the field to the student. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so as you know, I'm working on rechargeable batteries,
Yes, sir.
supercapacitors, and fuel cells, and
Yes, sir.
so we make materials for battery, supercapacitor, and fuel cell applications. And
Yes, sir.
we not only make the materials and characterize them and bring them in the form of a half cell, then we go to the full cell, then
Mm-hmm.
finally we end up at laboratory prototype devices, working
Mm-hmm.
devices.
Yes, sir.
So I think it will be appropriate to tell something about the department also.
Yes, sir.
So, Durai, next slide. Yeah, so our department was installed about 10 years before, the
Mm-hmm.
Department of Green Energy Technology. So in fact, we have 3 programs running in this department. We have a conventional MTech program, a 4-semester program. So we take the students from BE, BTech, and even ME, MSc, and MSc Chemistry, Physics, Nanoscience, etc. And we also have
Mm-hmm.
PhD program. And you see here our focus areas of research and teaching are energy and related areas. So
Yes, sir.
solar thermal, we have expertise on solar thermal, solar photovoltaic, bioenergy, and energy materials. Next click. My expertise is on energy conversion and storage. So that essentially deals with the battery and its sister device supercapacitor, fuel cells, and I also have a long expertise on sensors for automotive applications. So essentially, we work on lithium-ion batteries, and we develop materials for lithium-ion battery, lithium-air battery, sodium system. Very recently into lithium system, sulfur systems, etc. Okay, so I think a battery doesn't require any introduction for the students or academics like this. And if you look at the evolution of the mobile phone, that itself will tell you how mature the battery technology is. We had button cells, or earlier to button cells we had a pager. Then we came button cells, and the very last 10 years or so we have been into smartphones. And you know, this smartphone screen and as well as the energy has been increased very much. So we could have a large display as well as long talk time. Now we have unlimited talk time. Yes, isn't it? So 10 years before and all, mobile phones were sold based on the number of hours of talk time. The price of the mobile phones are fixed based on the talk time. It used to be 4 hours of talk time, 8 hours of talk time, 10 hours of talk time. Now, thanks to this mature battery technology, the energy density and the capacity has been increased very much, and we have now unlimited talk time. 40 hours of playtime. We don't talk about playtime, talk time. We talk about playtime. You can play the movies or videos or anything on the smartphone unlimited time. That essentially linked with the high capacity or energy density associated with the lithium ion battery that is housed in the mobile phone. Next slide, please. So I think currently so much of energy is being utilized. Durai, I think you can go ahead. This may not be requiring for this meeting. Next slide, Durai. Next slide. Yeah, currently at least 14 trillion watts of energy required. So if you translate this 14 trillion watts of energy, we may have to get from such energy from 3,000 Niagara Falls. About 80 to 85% of current energy demand is made by the chemical sources by means of burning of fossil fuels. And we know that the burning of fossil fuels leads to emission of toxic gases NO, NO2, CO, CO2, which harm the environment. On the other hand, the reserve for such fossil fuels are also getting depleted. So it means we need to go for alternative or sustainable energy sources. So we know that hydrogen could be the safe fuel, but unfortunately we don't have any raw hydrogen on the environment. But hydrogen in the form of water or a biofuel or biotic component very much plenty available. So it means, the next slide. So either we need to have a DeNOx system to decompose these toxic gases NO, NO2, CO, CO2 into environmentally friendly nitrogen, or we have to go for alternative systems. Next slide. When I say alternative energy sources, as we know that it must be renewable or sustainable nature, and we all must remember that the Mother Earth on which we are living, we have borrowed this Mother Earth from our future generation. Any activity that we indulge on the Earth should not harm the environment, so that our future generation, the Mother Earth, will be preserved and it will be beneficial even to the future generation, from whom we have borrowed this Earth. So we need to make use of renewable or sustainable energy sources for our energy demands. Next slide. So they must have these features: large abundance, renewable in nature, environmentally clean, high energy content, low cost, easily storable, economically transportable, conveniently usable, etc. So if we combine all these attractive features, not many renewable energy sources will serve. We have only countable renewable energy sources, maybe solar thermal energy and wind energy and bioenergies. And we know that these energy sources, they have their own limitations and merits. Sun is not available throughout the day. 24/7 is not available. Only sun is available from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And effective sun radiation is only that time. If at all we can make use of this solar radiation, we can make use of only that hour. But we require more amount of energy during the night time. So it means, so on the other hand, the wind energy is not available throughout the land. Maybe the South Indian is to some extent fortunate to have this. Maybe places like Tamil Nadu or Mangalore, for example, their land pattern and wind patterns are suitable to generate a sufficient wind speed, and we could employ wind turbines and we could convert the wind energy into electrical energy. But you see that in one hand, the energy generated from one place to, it has to be transported from one place to another places. And these energy sources are not available throughout the land or throughout the day. So it means it essentially requires storage devices. That's where we have the electrochemical energy storage technologies, which must be reliable and efficient in storage. And we also should remember that the transmission of power from one place to another places. For example, if you are transmitting a power from maybe the plant, solar power plant, it has to be transported with which involves a huge infrastructure and associated power loss. So to minimize all these things, we need to store the energy and retrieve it whenever we require. So for these purposes, we require batteries and supercapacitors. Next slide, please. I think you can skip this. So energy can be classified primary, secondary, then conventional, non-conventional. So you know these electrical energy devices, they can come under non-conventional alternative energy sources. And we have 4 technologies in this regard: battery, supercapacitor, fuel cells. And the battery supercapacitors are energy storage devices, whereas fuel cells are energy converter devices. And for simplicity, I will remove these photoelectrochemical cells that essentially DSSC, dye-sensitized solar cells. I think I will briefly explain what are batteries and what are supercapacitors. After that, we can stop this. Yeah, so batteries are essentially galvanic cells. Batteries are essentially galvanic cells. So it means they develop positive potentials. We know that any electrochemical cell consists of 3 components: one anode, one cathode, and an electrolyte. Anode where oxidation takes place, cathode is where reduction takes place. The electrolyte serves the purpose of transferring ion from between the compartment, and when the circuit is completed, it will develop 1.1 positive voltage. Any electrochemical cell combination of redox couple, if it generates 1.1 or positive voltage, such cells are called as galvanic cells, you know. And the typical example is this Daniel cell or Lagrange cell, where we have a zinc immersed in zinc electrolyte, copper immersed in a copper electrolyte, and when it is connected, it develops 1.1 voltage. In principle, this is a battery. Whether it is a primary battery, secondary battery, that is different. Yeah, so it develops a positive potential. If the reactions are reversible and it is possible to recharge it, then we can have a rechargeable battery. If the reactions are not possible to reverse it, then it will become primary batteries like zinc carbon batteries. Next slide. Yeah, so I think these are all characteristic. If required, I can transmit these content, and I think we can go on. Next slide, Durai. So connected to the electrochemical cells, electrolytic cells are also important. So they are technologically important to generate the materials like metals, metal oxides, even hydrogen as a fuel can be generated. So instead of getting the energy from the cell, we will apply the energy to the electrical energy to the cell, and we will be able to generate the materials like zinc, copper, and you would have heard that copper refinery, aluminum refinery, etc. So like electrochemical cells, which are batteries, electrolytic cells are also technologically important. Yeah, I think we can directly go to batteries. I think, right? Batteries. Okay, you can skip all these things. Batteries. Yeah, you require a redox couple. One will act as an anode, another will act as a cathode, and you should have a positive potential whether you are going to develop a battery or supercapacitor. Yes, yes, yes. That standard reduction potential table. Go to standard reduction potential table. Yes. So you take any one of the anode, one of the cathode, combine with a suitable electrolyte, and if you develop positive potential, you'll be able to develop a battery. So for example, in this case, you take either lithium or lithiated graphite as an anode, where we have the potentials in minus 3.045 voltage or minus 2.9 voltage as an anode, or any one of these cathodes, lithium nickel oxide, lithium cobalt oxide, lithium manganese oxide as a cathode, and lithiated graphite or lithium as an anode, using a lithium salt as an electrolyte in a non-aqueous electrolyte or solvent, will be able to develop very high energy density battery, what is called as lithium ion battery. We know that we have been already using this battery for last 20 years or so. Okay, so but generally battery can be classified into two types: primary battery, secondary battery. Next slide. Primary battery, secondary battery. And as the name implies, the primary batteries are disposable battery. You can use it and throw it. It is not possible to recharge it, and they are rather non-rechargeable batteries, whereas secondary batteries are rechargeable batteries. Any number of times it is possible to recharge it, maybe 1,000 times. In the case of lithium-ion battery, you can charge and recharge. Correct? So thanks to this matured battery technology, it has almost revolutionized the communication system in the world last 20 years also. Correct? So as the Nobel Committee told that it has really recharged the world. So thanks to those three great people who invented the lithium-ion battery, Stanley Whittingham, John B. Goodenough, and Akira Yoshino, who contributed this battery technologies. And so you know that I think I do not have to elaborate much on the aspect. We have been using it already, but now we will focus on supercapacitors. Durai, you can leave this PPT and go to the supercaps slide. So, madam, if time is required, sometimes later I can elaborate on the batteries. Not that.
Sure.
Yes, yes.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. You can do what is it?
Yes, maybe you can arrange for a whole class so that I can take a series of lectures on weekdays or sometimes.
Definitely, sir. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
I think those basics will be very much useful to youngsters.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
So now I will directly go to the supercapacitors. Maybe so batteries are energy devices. They can provide energy like a marathon runner. So slowly it can deliver the energy. We know that your laptop requires a very high energy, using which you can operate the laptop for more than 2 hours without connected to the grid. So that is essentially energy delivered by the batteries. But so similar to energy, power is also very important. What is power? So the rate of delivery of the energy is known as power. So how
Sir,
much energy the battery? Yes, please.
yeah, Professor, can you
Yeah.
just minimize that screen, stop sharing like that? There is some minimizers so that we can see the slide very big.
Durai,
Yes, sir.
please alter that. Yeah, hide that.
Yes, sir.
Make it full
Thank
screen,
you.
and there is some that also removed. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Now is it okay,
that's great,
madam?
sir.
Yeah,
Yeah, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah,
thank you, thank you.
so
Yeah,
that we
so
can see.
like energy, power is also important. As I told, the power is defined as the rate of delivery of the energy. dE by dt is power, measured in watt per kg or watt per liter.
Yes,
So similar
yes,
to energy, power is also important, especially when it is applied to electric vehicles or wherever any power load is required. Very high power is demanded. This supercapacitor is very much demanded, and that cannot be simply met by the batteries. And you see here is a cartoon of a vehicle glimping on some slope, right? Some slope.
yes,
So
sir.
having that whenever the vehicle is operated, we have several forces: aerodynamic force and gravity force, and there is a slope in the road. If the road is not plain, we will be definitely having a slope. So if to overcome all these things, you know that if you see that to start the vehicles, you require at least 160 watt per kg of power. Next slide. So 61,000 watt hour of power or 61 kilowatt just to move the vehicle or just to start the vehicles at a speed of 96.6 kilometer per hour in 10 seconds. So by taking into all these parameters, mass of the vehicle is 1,360 kg. That is more than the Omni vehicle. Omni 1,000 is 1,000 kg. Maruti 800 is 800 kg, and this is a typical vehicle. So then taking into consideration of all aerodynamic coefficient and air density, gravity force, all those things, you require 61,000 watt of power to start the vehicle at a speed of 96.6 kilometer per hour in 10 seconds. Once the vehicle is started, then maybe less power may be requiring, because during the running, not much power may be required. Much power may be required. In addition to that, once the vehicle started, it's not that we are always on moving. We will have to apply the brake. So you will be encountering traffic, or maybe some uphill may be coming. We'll have to eventually apply the brake. So for example, since now you are in Mumbai or Gujarat, maybe if you are traveling from Gujarat to Mumbai, maybe several times you will have to apply the brake. It may be due to traffic, or you will be stopping, or suddenly something happening, or uphill. You will have to essentially apply the brake. So the wheel is running with very high RPM, and if you suddenly apply the brake, the moving wheel, the energy associated with the moving wheel can be converted into useful energy. So what we call it as a regenerative braking system. All electric vehicles will be equipped with regenerative braking system. When the moving vehicle is allowed to stop, it will generate very huge power. How much power? It is more than double what we have seen to run the vehicles. It is double the 161 kilowatt. 186 kilowatts of very high power it will generate. So if you don't utilize this power, it will just be wasted. Okay, you see that these powers are not the powers the battery can deliver, essentially requiring supercapacitors. So you know that supercapacitors are also called as ultracapacitor, condensers, etc. Condensers or capacitors. And you see here, this is the comparison of various electrochemical energy devices: fuel cells, battery, supercapacitors, and capacitors. And the capacitors have a very high. You can show the pointers, right? You can pick up the pointer and show. So supercapacitors, pointer. That is pen. That is pen. Okay, so you have taken a old version. You leave it. Arrow mark you can take. Arrow mark you can take. Okay. Supercapacitors essentially have a very high power density. How much? Thousands of kilowatts of power. Whereas batteries, they don't able to supply that much power. So that is why, so the research and development on the supercapacitor is very much required. Next slide. I think this physics students will like this. So everybody calls capacitors, but physics calls this device as a condenser. Okay, so essentially it is called as a parallel plate condensers or capacitors. So so we have here two conducting plates. It may be made up of alumina, titanium, or simply carbon. Then sandwiched with a dielectric material. Again, physics called dielectric material. The rest of the people call as an insulator. So you construct a capacitor, and it is the symbol. Okay. So next slide.
Yes, sir.
So now you take this device and attach it to a voltage source. So you supply the voltage to the this device. What will happen? Dielectric matrix, it is having a negative and a positive charges. Depending on the voltage that you apply, so what will happen? There will be a charge separation. You know that condenser works based on the principle of charge separation or double layer formation in the electrolyte. So, and this is solid state, we call it as a charge separation. So until all the negative charges are oriented in one direction and all the negative positive charges are oriented in another direction, the device will get charged from the voltage source. So once the charging, the separation has taken place, so now you remove the voltage source and it will still hold the charge. And if you try to touch the terminals, you will get a very big shock, because this device will momentarily will discharge the power, huge power, in seconds. So whenever you encounter such devices, the charged capacitors, momentarily a big shock you will encounter, because so much power it will discharge. So much power it will discharge. Next slide. So the basic principle behind this charge separation is electrostatic force of attraction between the two plates, two conducting plates, negative plate and a positive. One will act as a negative, another one will act as a positive. Correct? So the electrostatic force of attraction is the basis for charge storage in parallel plate condensers or capacitor or conventional capacitors. So next slide, please. You can manipulate this. You can quantify this charge storage by using the standard formula: C is equal to Q by V. And I think physicists very much use this formula. And many competitive questions are asked using this standard formula: C is equal to QV, and where C is capacitance, usually measured in farads or millifarads, microfarads, and Q is a charge that is being stored, and V is the voltage of operation. So generally, parallel plate capacitor or conventional capacitor, they have a microfarads or picofarads, very low. But now we have crossed with double layer capacitor. We have very much crossed with these microfarads and picofarads. Next slide. And it is possible to manipulate this capacitance value by manipulating the area, distance, and the dielectric matrix. So you can change the area, increase or decrease. You will be able to develop variable capacitors, or you can have a better dielectric material. You can increase the capacitance, and you can also manipulate the distance. Next slide. Area, distance, and a dielectric medium. I think you can go ahead. So like a variable resistors, it is possible to make a variable capacitors. You will have to just change you can alternately change the area. So large area A, and this another B is less area. Larger the area, larger the capacitance. Next slide. Yeah, I think you can go ahead. I think you can go ahead. Yeah, so depending on the dielectric also, it is possible to increase the capacitance. You see here, instead of air as a dielectric, where it has got a very low dielectric constant, 1. Instead of air, if you use ceramic, you see that dielectric constant is 1200. You will be able to lift the capacitance very high, because the charge separation in the ceramics and glasses will be very high compared to the air. Air is nothing, right? Unless there is some impurities, it is not possible to separate the negative and positive ions. Whereas with ceramics, like oxides, carbides, sulfides, etc., so effective charge separation is possible, and it is possible to have a high capacitance. Next slide. Okay, so I think this cartoon will be beneficial to have a look. So as I told, these capacitors are power devices. In a very momentarily, very high power can be generated, can be given. Okay, so you know that literally we have been using this capacitor in AC compressor and fans, and wherever you encounter motors. And motors, you know that if they are associated with high moment of inertia, high resistance, to overcome those high resistance and moment of inertia, the normal power from the grid is not sufficient. You need to have a acceleratory power. So that can be essentially substituted or supplied by the capacitor or ultra capacitor. Next slide. So I think this cartoon also very much easy to understand. Batteries are power energy devices, and supercapacitors are power devices. So battery can supply the power very little but long time. Supercapacitor, they can deliver very high power but very short time. There is another water tap analogy also. I think if required, maybe when I take a separate class, that time I can introduce. Next. I think you can go ahead. Next. Yeah, so I think you focus on this green line. If the green line is the available power, what is available power? Power is constant. Let's say 1000 watt is available, but you require momentarily 2000, whereas the available power is only 1000. Where will you go for additional 1000? Then in those places, if you have a supercapacitor, that can be supplied by the supercapacitor. Whereas if the required power is constant, and but available power is variable, okay, so then we need to have supply the constant power to the system, otherwise the system will get damaged if you have a variable power. So this available power is varying. It can be picked up if you apply the supercapacitors. Okay, so you see that whether it is requiring for a momentary power or whether it is requiring power for a stable power, you require the supercapacitors. They can supply or they can pick up. In both ways, supercapacitors are required. I think that much is enough. So I think another few minutes I can stop. So very recently we have been talking about supercapacitors. Why we are calling it this as a supercapacitor instead of capacitors? You know, now instead of dielectric matrix, solid dielectric matrix, we have been using now liquid-based electrolyte. So, and the carbon as the electrodes, very large surface area carbon as the electrode, and the liquid-based electrolyte like sulfuric acid or acid, sodium sulfite in water, aqueous or non-aqueous as an electrolyte. So this will provide enormous charge storage, uncomparable compared to the conventional capacitors. So you know that as conventional capacitor, we have seen that microfarads, picofarads. It means 10 power 12, 10 power 9 farads. But now we have farads, hundreds of farads to kilowatts of power, kilowatts of farads. So thanks to this new technologies, I don't say new, but at least the last 30 years also. But now very much attention is given to this field, supercapacitors. So since the energy storage in this device is very high, our charge storage is uncomparable compared to the conventional. So we attach the prefix super. Anything exceedingly performing, you know, like sixer, we know super six in the cricket, right? So in conductors, we have conductors. Similarly, we have a superconductors. What are superconductors? They conduct with zero resistance, exceedingly very high performance. Similarly, capacitors, now the capacitance is very high, so we use supercapacitors. And if the materials are used as an electrode, usually electrodes are carbon nature, and those capacitors are called ultra capacitors because the carbon is happen to be one of the lightest material. I don't say metal, material. So supercapacitors also called as ultra capacitors. Because if the carbon is used. Next slide. I think these are the features. Okay, so you can separate. So you can have a very large surface area. You can have a large surface area. Higher the surface area, larger the capacitance you can have it. Larger the capacitance you can have it. Dura, you can go ahead. Yeah, I think this slide, this classification there is important. So when I say electrical double layer capacitor, we have two types, non-Faradaic and Faradaic. So as the name implies, non-Faradaic is there are no charge transfer reaction, no redox reaction, only carbon-based material, oxide-based material, no reaction is taking place. Whereas in the pseudo capacitors or Faraday capacitor, there will be a reaction. At least one reaction will be there. One oxidation, one reduction will be there during charging, discharging. So if you see the magnitude of the charge storage between these two capacitors, definitely the redox capacitor will have a very large capacitors. And I can boldly say that the energy density and the energy density, especially associated with the Faraday capacitors, is at least half of that of the batteries. So much development has been taken place, and with a lot of improvements in the materials and understanding. So we have a very large improvements in the Faraday capacitor. Next slide. Yes, I think this cartoon also will be beneficial to the students. So in the EDLC, when I say EDLC, there are no Faraday reaction, no redox reaction, only charge separation in the electrode between the electrodes. This is similar to the parallel plate capacitors. Only difference is here the liquid-based electrolyte. In the case of parallel plate capacitors, it is a dielectric matrix solid state. Whereas in the case of redox capacitor, electrolyte can be acid, base, or neutral, or even non-aqueous, but essentially the electrodes will undergo redox reactions. Both the electrodes may undergo redox reaction. One will undergo oxidation, another one will undergo reduction. For example, maybe cobalt oxide, ruthenium oxide, or any other oxide, or even polymers, even functionalized carbon or carbon nanotubes can be used as the redox materials. So generally, charge separation is the responsible mechanism for charge storage in double layer capacitor. And in the case of Faraday capacitor, it is charge transfer. Charge transfer is electron transfer. Charge is nothing but electron. So you are going to get a very high capacitance. Yes, please. Next slide. I think you can go ahead. You can go ahead and you stop there. You see the materials. I think this cartoon also I usually tell this. So batteries are like a marathon runner, whereas supercapacitors are relay runner. The relay runner, so they run very quick. Usain Bolt, so he broke his own record. 100 meters he crossed in about 9.1 seconds, and in 2 consecutive Olympics he broke his own records. So supercapacitor like that, high power is delivered. Whereas batteries are marathon runner, they could be able to put the power slowly for 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, etc. I think we can go ahead, right? You can go ahead. Materials, you see. So it can be fabricated in the form of a kind cell, typical device. We have this facility, and it is possible to fabricate it. Okay, yeah. So about the materials for supercapacitors, so we can have essentially carbon-based materials, oxides, hydroxide, and composites. I think there is some spelling mistake in the composites. It should have been COMP. And so very recently we have explored these materials from our lab. Essentially all the junks. So I'm sorry to say junks. All the waste materials. We have made use of them, and you can see that palm fruit or walnut shell, spent dry, the denatured milk. From all these things, we could extract either carbon or related carbon materials and explode it as a energy storage material, essentially for supercapacitors. And of course, we have also used for batteries. I think 1 or 2 work we can take up, and after that we can wind up. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think this graphical abstract will tell you what we have done and what is the performance of the device. I think it is self-descriptive. I think you could be able to see that we have taken the palm fruit. It is available in our regions. I am from Pondicherry, and this is very much available. These trees are available very much, even in our own campus. The next to our very building is available. We have taken that palm fruit and cleaned it, chopped into fibers. That fiber were pre-carbonized. Then the pre-carbonized carbon was activated, and finally you get the powder for making the batteries. Okay, so then there is a separate protocol for making the battery, and you see that a working device we have made it both for lithium-ion battery as well as supercapacitors. Yeah, so similarly we have explored other sources. Here you see the walnut shell, and one of the students who is from Afghanistan studying with us, he has gifted me this some walnut. After consuming the walnut, so I thought, why don't we carbonize it? and we got a very good performances. You see that the energy density what we got was 30 to 50 watt hour per kg, with a power density of 3000 to 6000 watt hour per kg. And we have tested its stability for 1000 cycles in the case of batteries and 10,000 cycles for supercapacitors. Next slide. I think you can go ahead. I think may not be appropriate to tell all these things. Yeah. I think we can stop, madam. If anything would like to.
Sir, thank you so much.
So maybe I will add to that to go about further for research, doing research in this direction. As I told in one of the slides, you can work on carbon material, metal oxide, metal hydroxide, and composites. So you need to select the type of the material based on the type of the supercapacitor you want to make it. Whether you want to make the EDLC or redox capacitor. EDLC means no redox reaction. Essentially, you will have to use carbon-based materials. And for redox materials, you need to go for transition metal-based oxides, sulfides, hydroxides, or composites, etc. So, because transition metal oxides transition metals are susceptible for electrochemical redox reaction, whereas non-transition metals like alkali metals, alkaline earth metals, they are not. So, either you can take up carbon-based materials or metal oxides, which are not undergoing redox reaction for EDLC. For having a redox capacitor, you can go for transition metal oxide, metal sulfides, hydroxides, combined with the carbon, combined with the polymer, etc. as a composite. Then you make a 3 electrodes off cell and a full cell 2 electrode cell. Then you evaluate. Yes, madam.
Yeah. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful talk. And really, it is very informative for beginners. I'm requesting to my students, if you have any question regarding that, you can ask.
Yeah,
and if you have something in your mind, you are free to talk with the professor,
So I'm sorry, I hurried largely because excuse me for this.
So, sir, you have some work? Okay.
No. So presentation, I hurried. I couldn't spend much time on the slides. That's what I'm telling.
Oh, sir, no issue. So, student, do you have any questions?
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Dikshit.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I need to ask some questions regarding to this. Sir, firstly, I need to know that I have read one paper, which is showing that the fabrication of LED using the supercapacitors electrode. So, sir, is it possible, like by using these waste material, so we can conserve energy and use that particular energy or power storage things to fabricate a LED?
Very much possible. Very much possible. I think we have. Durai, you can take up 1 or 2 slides where we have explored some waste. Honeycomb we have explored. Palm carbon we have explored, and from the waste we have generated the material. After characterizing, identifying the material, and we went for making the off cell, then to the full cell, like a device, kind cell device. We have made it, and we have tested it for commercial LED glowing. The prototype what we are seeing is that's the one. Yeah, this is this. Yeah, this is one. Stop here. You can show the LED. Right, next one. This is a non-aqueous. Aqueous you can show. That was larger photo. This is also you can show. Slow. Glowing LED. You stop any one place, glowing LED. You see here, this is a new type of capacitor. You would have heard about just a capacitor. Now we are talking about sodium-ion capacitor, lithium-ion capacitor, not just capacitors. So the power density is now it is supported by the mobility of the sodium ions, and we can get much higher power density compared to other ion capacitors, especially lithium-ion capacitors. Lithium-ion capacitor, there is a limitation in the power density because a smaller size, and it can be solvated very large, then mobility will be reduced. Whereas the sodium ions large size but less solvated can move very easily. You will be able to get, even if you make a sodium ion battery and a sodium ion capacitor, you are going to get much higher power density compared to lithium system. Yes, I can say very much the waste material can be explored to get the electrode materials to fabricate the supercapacitor and glow it to LED. Very much possible. We have been doing this. We have patent also, three patents we have. Supercapacitor, I think this must, madam was used to be interesting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you just observe it, and if you have any comments, you can raise it.
So,
So
sir,
yeah.
Sir, how to fabricate a supercap battery?
So we have established a standard protocols in our lab. So I think there may not be protocols here. We have a standard protocols. So what we do is we make the material mostly in the form of powder. Then the powder has to be converted in the form of a paste or dough-like thing or syrupy using some binder so that it will adhere to the current collector. So after getting the paste, it has to be applied on some current collector, maybe a carbon cloth or a stainless steel, or depending on the any substrate you choose. It could be even nickel gas, nickel mesh, etc. You dry it, if required, you press it so that you will reduce the contact resistance. So if you are going to make a symmetric device, you make such two electrodes and house them maybe in the form of a kind cell, inside the kind cell. You separate the electrodes with a separator. So if it is not very specific ions, you can take even Wattman filter paper or glassy paper as a separator. Then you crimp it, and it is done. We have complete facility in lab, and it is possible to fabricate any lab. Okay, so even indigenous batteries, I mean supercapacitor is possible to make it. Need not be coin cell type indigenously. Yes.
And sir, like in the use of supercapacitor, can we use the carbon as an electrode, and which kind of carbon material used? If it is if carbon material can be used, so which kind of carbon material is used?
So we need not have any particular carbon material. What we require is high surface area carbon. And it doesn't matter the carbon is obtained from this source or that source, whether it is obtained from the acetylene black or anything, that doesn't matter. But essentially, it should have a very large surface area. But the demand for the energy storage devices are very much now, even India, not only in India, elsewhere also. So even for the carbon materials, there is going to be a huge demand. So we focus on developing these carbon materials from the waste. Cheaper material, environmentally friendly, sustainable materials, which are just dumped into the environment. We make use of them. Okay, so we don't require any specific carbon, but we require very high surface area. That is essential. Then you combine with one of the redox materials, you will be able to develop a redox capacitor, I mean asymmetric capacitor. And if the redox material is a battery material, then we call it as a supercapacitor. Maybe for example, in this case, cobalt oxide is happen to be a battery behavior, and whereas RGO is a supercapacitor EDLC material. And in a single device, we have the nature of battery as well as that of the supercapacitors, and we name them as a supercapacitor. Did I answer?
Yes, sir. And one more thing, sir. Can you please give me the detail regarding to the supercapacitor fabrications?
Similar. Supercapacitor and supercapacitor fabrication is similar for us.
Okay, sir.
Essentially similar. We have named it so because it's a new kind of a device.
So, but sir, why we called this as a supercapacitor?
Yes, sir. There you can go to that slide. Yeah, no, introductory slide before this. Here. So you see here, supercapacitor essentially combines in a single compartment or single device both the battery electrode and the supercapacitor electrode. And before that, you concentrate on the supercapacitor. You are seeing the commercial supercapacitor with the 2 leads, blue color, 2.7 voltage, 30 farads capacitor, right? what is the inside cell configuration? It is having 2 carbon electrodes. And we know that if the carbons are not functionalized, it will undergo only EDLC behavior, isn't it? Yes. So no charge transfer reaction, only charge separation. Whereas you concentrate on the battery, for example, typically battery lithium-ion battery, for example, and we know that lithium-ion battery has a 1 anode and 1 cathode, and you pick up either anode or cathode. For example, you pick up the cathode as another electrode and insert with the carbon electrode of supercapacitors. So then you get the resultant supercapacitor. So why I call this as the supercapacitor? This supercapacitor has the features of supercapacitor as well as the battery. What are they? We know that supercapacitor can give you a very high power, whereas the batteries can give you a very high energy. So in a single device, we are getting a very high power as well as a very high energy, and it is consisting of a battery electrode as well as the supercapacitor electrode, and we termed it as a supercapacitor.
Yes, sir. And so I have read one of your article, in the slide itself, sir. I have read about the quantum carbon quantum dot. So, sir, how can we synthesize that quantum carbon dot?
So there are several methods. So one of the methods what we have adopted is we have taken denatured milk and we just hydrothermal it. So this is not the only methods available. There are several methods available. You need to get essentially carbon-based quantum dots. So we have used hydrothermal. Maybe there are other methods available also. Electrochemical also available. Salt gel also may be available. But depending on the methods, there are merits and demerits. So it is possible to tune the quantum dot size or shape, etc. Okay. So to know more about hydrothermal synthesis, maybe you can focus our paper, or what is done is we use autoclave bomb. You know autoclave bomb, right? We can conduct the high temperature reaction under sealed conditions. So what you take is you take the maybe 100 ml of autoclave bomb, you fill it 50% volume of 100 ml with water or any other solvent. You add the reaction content. For example, if you are going to make a carbon quantum dots, you need to take a carbon source. We have taken denatured milk. It can be anything else, carbon source. Okay, maybe glucose, for example. Then you seal it, then slowly heat it. About 6 hours, you heat it. Not very high temperature, 150 degree, 160 degree. So what will happen? Water present in that condition no longer behaves as a water. It behaves as a supercritical liquid, supercritical water. So whatever will dissolve in the water will precipitate at a supercritical condition. So quantum dots are formed. Highly fluorescent quantum dots we got. So that quantum dot we can filter it and you can separate it as a powder and you can use it for any application. And here we have made use of that quantum dots to create a various range of composites, like composites of carbon quantum dots and bismuth oxide, carbon quantum dots with nickel oxide, cobalt oxide, manganese oxide, etc. There are several methods and we have adapted hydrothermal.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And so, sir, I need to know, is it any way to do my final year project over this topic? And I'm highly interested in doing a theoretical work or having a review article over this. So, sir, is it possible to have this type of thing?
So theoretical means, so you want to do some simulation on the supercapacitors?
Sir, this is very introductory for me. So I need to know more so that I can come to a conclusion. It is more relevant for me to do a theoretical or experimental work because right now, sir, during this COVID situation, I don't know whether the college.
Okay, so because of the COVID situation only, we wanted to do on theory aspect. So yes, isn't it? Otherwise, you will be able to. Yeah.
Sir, I'm also interested in work also.
Correct. I think Madam and me discussed, you can summarize going through several literatures, what they have done, what is the basics of supercapacitor, what are the materials, what is the mechanism, what are hybrid supercapacitor, asymmetric capacitor, symmetric capacitor, redox, parallel plate, all those things. Please try to learn, and so then advanced materials, how they are preparing, how they are characterizing, what are the performances. I think if you pick up some 10 review papers or research papers and go through and summarize it, I think department will be able to accept this under this condition. And if time permits, maybe you can plan for practical work. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
And so, what are the possibilities to have these experimental work over there?
I mean, our lab is very much open. You can ask our students. I think even now also, two of my students are attending this meeting. Durai and Kannadasan, they are attending. Our lab is highly open to any academic visits, academic activities. You are most welcome. But only thing is that our campus is now restricted to the student. Only research students are allowed, and PG students are not yet allowed. I have been telling the madam for last 1 month or so. And I hope maybe next month or so it may be opened. If you have time, you can visit. Maybe 1 month or time also would be enough to make such experiments. You can get some data.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, sir. Thank you for this particular talk. And really, it is a very interesting and new things that we have learned today. Sir, I'm expecting from your side you will be keep in touch with us, and properly you will guide to us how we have to do the work and how we can go
when is the
path.
For the student to complete, madam, MSc?
Yes, sir, MSc.
When is the time for submission of thesis?
Maybe after 3 months. Maybe they have little time.
Maybe in June, April, June.
April, sir. Maybe April.
April. We have 3 months. We don't know. Even if we get 1 month of time, it is possible to do, madam.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. What are
otherwise, in our department, if anything is possible to access, I can maybe our students also can help Dikshit to make some material and fabricate something. At least do something.
Yes,
you
sir.
See that
you are good heart. And
if
really,
anything can be
yes, sir. What I'm thinking that all the property are existing with you, that you are a good researcher as well as the scientist. You are going to do some for us. So really, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
We'll try to come in your lab and what are the
welcome.
possibilities. Yes, sir. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you. We'll give you some articles related to that. And sir, you will just do your hand. Maybe as you are expert and you know everything.
Whatever we can. So whatever we can extend, madam, for academically. We are open to that.
Thank you so much.
I tell everywhere. Wherever I give any lectures also, I give this.
Yes, sir.
And 2 of my students are there. Maybe you can introduce your to our students.
Yes,
they can also.
Sir, we want to see, and definitely, sir, if there is some possibility to introduce with your group, your students, that will be very good for us, sir.
Yes. Yes, so your institute is which institute, madam?
Sir, we are in Marwadi University.
Marwadi University.
It's an international. Yes, sir. It's an international institution in Gujarat, Rajkot.
Gujarat.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So, with this, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable time. And really, in short time, you briefly describe everything. And really, sir, it's a very informative and very innovative talk. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So all the best to Dikshit.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You can write to us,
touch,
email or any other communication medium. You can reach us for any clarifications.
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Durai, for time. Thank you, Durai and Kannadasan for sharing. They helped us. They are sharing from lab. I am at home. Excuse me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, sometimes if you have some time, so please show us your lab as well as your lab mates, your team,
Yes.
So
Yes,
that
madam.
will be
We
also
can plan. We
good
can
for
plan.
us.
You can
Thank you so much,
plan
sir.
for any classes requiring on battery supercapacitor. I can handle.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
See you.
Okay.
See you, madam.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Suresh, see you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you, sir. With this,
Yeah.
going to just stop.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Yeah.